Should be back tomorrow on Thursday, unless I get sick, something weird happens with me. But we're going to carry on though. Lesson 63. We're going to focus some more on square roots of numbers. The product of square roots rule. This just means that if you take the square root of a number times the square root of another number, it's the same thing as just taking the product of those two numbers first and then taking the square root. And that's can be flip-flopped. So these two things are the same thing, just being shown in a different order. But that's the product of square roots rule. And we're going to use that idea to break down and find square roots. Now, we're not going to use calculators on these. We're going to simplify them down as far as we can. And the way that we do this is by taking the cake method of these numbers. So let's take 50. If we take the product of primes of 50, we go 2, 25, 5, 5, 5, 1. We can break 50 down so that it is the product of 2 times 5 times 5. And then, based on this previous product of square roots rule, this is where I'm at right now, where I have my 2 times 5 times 5. I can write each one of those as its own square root. So I can go the square root of 2 times the square root of 5 times the square root of 5. And the reason that I want to do that is at this point, I want to look at this. I have a pair of square roots of 5s. Now let's pull that over here to the side and look at it by itself. If we took the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, and then we went back that other direction, and we put those underneath the same square root symbol, then that's the square root of 25, right? 5 times 5 is 25, and the square root of 25 is 5. So the product of a square root times itself gives you the number. So this pair of square roots of 5s, now that I have that, I'm going to erase this other mess here, would give us just a value of 5. So I'm going to rewrite this, and I want to put this value in front. So I'm going to take this value of 5 and then write the square root of 2 after it. I don't have a value that I can work the square root of 2 with, so I have to leave it as a square root of 2. This is the actual answer. It's an irrational number, but it is an actual answer, and this is what we want to break that down to. So 5 square roots of 2 is your answer for simplifying this. Okay, don't freak out if you don't follow this. I've got plenty of examples here to work over. Watch the pattern develop. 200. I'm going to break it down into a product of primes using the cake method. 2, 100, 2, 50, 2, 25, 5, 5, 5, and 1. So this is going to be, and I'm going to jump that step of writing these all underneath the square root symbol together and just go the square root of 2, square root of 2, square root of 2, square root of 5, square root of 5. And just a minute, I have got a text message, and it's okay because it's out of school hours. So I'm going to check that. All right, I'm back. So we want to look for pairs at this point. Notice I have 3 square roots of 2. I only can take 2 of them because it has to be a pair. So I'm going to look at those two. The square root of 2 times the square root of 2 gives me a value of 2. Then I'm going to look for this at this pair. Square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is simply 5. And then this square root of 2 is left over, and it just has to stay as it is. Now I can take the 2 times 5, which is 10, square roots of 2. this is my answer. If I were to square that, that would give me 200. Okay. Again, don't freak out if you're not following along exactly. 147. 7 will get into each of those 21 times. 3, 7, 7, 1. So I have the square root of 7, square root of 7, square root of 3. Now that I've been doing this, I'm going to write my pairs first so that they're at the front of my problem. So the square root of 7 times the square root of 7 is just simply 7, and then square roots of 3. There isn't anything else I can do. I've taken this part, squared them, gave me 7, so that's my answer. Okay. 108. Do the product of primes. 108. 2. 54. 2. 27. 3. 9. 3. 3. 3. 1. Okay, so I have a pair of 2's. So I have square root of 2, square root of 2, square root of 3, square root of 3, square root of 3. So now I'm going to look at my pair of 2's. Pair of 2's gives me a value of 2. Times the pair of 3's. Remember, you can only put 2 of them together. So a pair of 3's gives me a value of 3, and I have that square root of 3 left over on the end because there isn't anything to combine it with. 3 times 2 is 6. Square roots of 3. Hopefully this is starting to get really easy. Alright, there we go. So that's it. So problem set 63. Problem set 63. 1 through 30. Due Thursday. We are going to grade lessons 61, 2, and 3 all on Thursday. We'll then start going over lesson 64. Need to get your tests back to you also. So it's going to be Thursday will be a bit kind of a housekeeping type of day where we get things cleaned up, try to get things back in order. So please work on this quietly, girls in the back particularly. Let's be quiet while we're working. Yes, Dalton, that does not include you and the girls, but you be quiet too. We'll see you tomorrow. Be good.